What's good, y'all? I'm Stats with Evan, and I'm back to give you my predictions for every game on week 9 of the NFL slate. Now, as always, these predictions are completely, totally, and 100% unbiased. That means I'm not basing these off which teams or players I like better. I'm just basing these off which team I think has a better chance of winning this game, this week. That's it. With that being said, let's get into it. Now, as always, we start with the Thursday night game. This week, we got the Green Bay Packers taking on the San Francisco 49ers. This is a rematch of the NFC Championship, but it's not exactly going to play out like that. On the one hand, the Packers have looked extremely vulnerable over the last 3 weeks, and a healthy Niners team could certainly win this game. On the other hand, the Niners are not healthy, and they will be without Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle. Add on the last time we saw Nick Mullins start, he lost to the Eagles. In conclusion, Green Bay takes this 31-20 over San Francisco. And now we move to the 1 o'clock slate. First up, we got the Denver Broncos taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Yep, that's right, y'all. We're moving from an NFC Championship rematch straight to a Super Bowl rematch. The Falcons have the edge on offense, but the Broncos have the edge on defense. In addition, we might not know exactly how bad the Broncos are yet, considering they're undefeated against teams below 500 like the Falcons. Plus, the Broncos have had a couple fourth quarter comebacks this season, and the Falcons have blown a couple fourth quarter leads, so I'll go with Denver 28-24 over Atlanta. Up next, we got the Seattle Seahawks and the Buffalo Bills. Another example of a heavyweight bout that deserves much better than a 1 o'clock kick, because that would be 10 in the morning in Seattle, by the way. Now, both teams have high-powered offenses, but the Bills' offense is still trying to regain its footing. Luckily, this week, they face a Seahawks defense that has a lot of questions they need to answer. Yes, they did play a good game last week, but so did the Bills, because at the end of the day, laugh at Cam all y'all want, but we got to give the Bills credit for forcing that fumble to win the game. It's going to come down to who has the ball last, and I feel like that's going to end up being the Bills, so I'll go with Buffalo 41-38 over Seattle. Up next, we got the Chicago Bears and the Tennessee Titans. Well, somebody's getting the bounce back they need this week. The Titans have an overpowering offense, but a less than desirable defense. You know who else fits this description? The New Orleans Saints, who just got done beating the Bears. Now, I was holding out on burying the Bears after all the ways they won earlier this season to get to 5-1, but I don't know how much I can trust them right now, so I'll go with Tennessee 34-17 over Chicago. Up next, we got the New York Giants and the Washington Football Team. Now, you might not think it by looking at their records, but both teams are coming into this game with some momentum. The Giants are coming off their best game of the season, and Washington's coming off back-to-back good defensive games, which skyrocketed them to the top of most statistical categories, and then a bye week to rest them up. Additionally, one thing that nobody's been talking about is that Washington hasn't been outscored in a quarter since the first quarter in New York. One of these teams is going to stay hot, and I think it's Washington. So in other words, New York, put the brooms away. Washington wins it 24-13. Up next, we got the Baltimore Ravens and the Indianapolis Colts. Now, it's no secret I've been high on both these teams this season, and this will obviously be a big game on both sides. It's also going to be a pretty close one. Both teams have great defenses, which should make for an absolute slugfest on Sunday. And add on, their offenses have been pretty evenly matched so far. I don't think either team has a clear advantage over the other. This game is really that close, y'all. After thinking about this for a while and going back and forth in my head a lot, I think I'll go with Baltimore 21-20 over Indianapolis. Up next, we got the Carolina Panthers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, this one's open and shut. The Panthers got flat out beat by the Falcons last week, and the Chiefs are leagues better than that. Add on, this isn't a trap game for the Chiefs either because they have a bye week next week. In conclusion, Kansas City rolls in this one 42-10 over Carolina. Up next, we got the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, this one's fairly interesting and could realistically go either way. Now, neither one of these teams boasts a defense that particularly instills fear in opponents, and both offenses are decent. However, when I take a look at these two, I'm seeing that the Lions are undefeated against sub-500 teams like the Vikings, and the Vikings can't exactly say the same since they did lose to the Falcons. Add in that the Vikings still don't have a home win this season, so I'll make this my upset of the week and take Detroit 28-21 over Minnesota. Up next, we got the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. In this battle for the bottom, there's not a lot of good I can say about either team. At the very least, I can say the Texans have stability at quarterback, which is more than I can say about the Jaguars. It's not going to be pretty, but Houston, get the brooms out. Texans win it 27-13. And now we move to the 4 o'clock slate. First up, we got the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Neither team played a particularly attractive game last week, but the Raiders struggled and ultimately beat a decent but banged up Cleveland team, and the Chargers blew a 21-point second-half lead in Denver. Both teams have the power to light up a scoreboard, but the Raiders have been more reliable with the second-half lead, so I'm going with Vegas 27-24 over LA. Up next, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, this one's pretty straightforward. The Steelers have a decisive edge across the board, and this is only amplified by the fact that the Cowboys' defense continues to be historically bad, and their offense hasn't scored a touchdown since Week 6. With a game against the Bengals on the horizon, I can't exactly call this a trap game for the Steelers either. In conclusion, Pittsburgh wins big 35-6 over Dallas. Up next, we got the Miami Dolphins and the Arizona Cardinals. A battle between two sleeper teams, and honestly, I'm surprised this game ain't sponsored by Mattress Warehouse. While the Dolphins pulled off an impressive win last week, their opponent this week has been much more consistent throughout the season. With both teams clicking on all cylinders, it's tough to find an advantage for either one. The Cardinals have looked decent since leaving Carolina, especially on the defensive end, but the Dolphins have allowed a grand total of 17 points in their last 2 games, which boosted them up to the number 1 scoring defense in the league. However, their 2 opponents, the Jets and the Rams, do not feature an offense nearly as potent as the Cardinals. It's going to be close, but I think I'll go with Arizona 24-21 over Miami. Up next, we got our Sunday night game. This week, we got the New Orleans Saints taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, first off, let's get one thing out the way. The Bucs narrowly escaped New York with a win on Monday, but seeing as how the Saints didn't exactly look like world beaters in Chicago, that's not enough to justify giving New Orleans the win here. While yes, the Saints did beat the Bucs earlier this season, neither team has looked the same since then. The Bucs have looked better on both sides of the ball, while the Saints have looked worse, especially without Michael Thomas. I say all of this to say New Orleans, put them brooms away. Bucs win it 31-13. And last but not least, that might be a lie, we got our Monday night game. This week we got the New England Patriots taking on the New York Jets. Now this matchup right here is proof that ESPN just be picking whoever to go on Monday night. This game does not look appealing at all, and it never did. I could go on and on about how bad these two are, but even with all that, the Jets have the advantage of this possibly being a trap game for the Patriots since they do play the Ravens next week. Still, with the Jets struggling heavily on both sides of the ball, this may not be enough. In a sloppy, forgettable game, I'm going with New England 17-7 over New York. Well, that's my picks. Which ones do you agree on? Which ones do you disagree on? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, I'm Stats with Evan, and I am so proud of all of y'all for going out and voting. And I hope y'all feel proud of yourselves too. Anyway, I'm out of here.